If you've made it this far, I have good news for you. We have pretty much covered all the basic stuff that I wanted to talk about regarding your basic theory that you need to figure out things like how to play over chord changes and how to address secondary dominance or a key change. Now, the modes. The modes of the major scale have created a lot of confusion, and even though this is not going to be a class about the modes, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what comes next for you if you want to go that route and really experiment with the modes. Now, one misconception is that you're going to need to learn patterns for the modes. I mean, look, if you have the major scale and we tell you that Dorian is the second mode of major, then that means that if you're playing... If you start on the second note, that is D Dorian. You don't need another shape. That doesn't mean that when you experiment playing a lot with the modes, you might start visualizing shapes and things that you like to use in a certain mode. Like if I'm in A Dorian, I'm not really thinking, it's the scale of G, but I'm playing in A, so it's A Dorian. I already see it as A Dorian, but at the beginning, I think it would be too confusing for you to go online and find the 378 positions for all the modes that exist on Earth and beyond. Ridiculous. You have the major scale, you have already the 7 modes, because if you start on another note, that's the mode. Now, with that said, what is modal music? Modal music, or a modal piece of music, is music where everything is not centered on the major scale. I mean, if I go, I'm clearly in the key of C. I'm clearly in the key of D. But what happens if you have, for example, a song that goes like this? Or a jam that goes like that. What scale are you going to use? Well, remember the puzzles. You say, I have a minor 7 followed by another minor 7. In the structure of the major scale, harmonized major scale with 4-note chords, there is only one place where I can have 2 minor 7 chords following one another with consecutive letters. What's that place? 2 and 3. So if I have 2 and 3 in the key of C, I can say that I'm in a Dorian mode. Why don't I just say I'm in the key of C? Well, you're using the notes of the key of C, but there is no C present. So why am I going to think I'm in the key of C? I'm not really in the key of C. I'm using the notes of the key of C, but this music clearly, it's in a D minor mode, known as D Dorian. So why am I going to call it D Dorian? Well, it's because there's no C present. So if I'm jamming over something like this, D minor 7, E minor 7, I might be like... Now my scale is C major, but I'm not playing in C, so I don't want to think I'm playing in C, I want to think I'm playing in D, and that's why we call it D Dorian. If you find this interesting or fascinating like I do, then you can go into lessons that deal specifically with modes and experiment more with that. But please don't waste your time learning the 1700 shapes that are all over the internet of all the modes that you don't really need, because you already have them, you just don't know that you do. Another example, you have a song that goes from G to F. You have 2 major chords in this case. You don't even have 7s. If you look at the structure of the major scale, you know that there are only 2 places where 2 major chords with consecutive letters can be. If you have G and F, that can only be 5 and 4, or 4 and 5, in the key of C. And we call that the Mixolydian mode. So yeah, if you're playing over G to F, you're using the C scale, but you don't want to think you're in C, because you're not in C, you're in G Mixolydian. I just wanted to give you my perspective on how I like to look at the modes. G mixolydian, if I have G to F, you could say, well, but that could also be F Lydian. So how do you know if it's F Lydian, which is the fourth mode, or G mixolydian, which is the fifth mode? It's not really that important, but technically speaking, if I have a song that goes, I would say I'm in G mixolydian, but if I have a song that goes, then I would say I'm in F Lydian. Say that I have an E minor chord going to F. Now I'm going to say I am in E Phrygian. Yeah, still, I'm using the notes of the C major scale, but I want to, acknowledge that I'm on a piece of music that is in E minor. It's just in a modal E minor, and that's the Phrygian mode. Otherwise, particularly at the beginning, I'm going to be paying too much attention to that note C, when in reality my root is E for that E minor. And the notes remain the same. Now, as I said before, I just wanted to give you some information about this. If you want to research this a little more, we have lots of lessons. You can look at my lessons, and I have some lessons on the modes, and many of our other great teachers also have lessons on the modes, on applications for the modes, and in ways of playing the modes and doing exercises with them. So go ahead and check them out, and I'll see you in the next lesson.